All right, I'll open the June 13th meeting of the Select Board of Nottingham. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to end with it if we're on TV?
Yeah, you're on TV.
Okay. Yeah, let's wait. Do it at the end. Okay, presuming Chris gets it going. First thing is to approve manifests, accounts payable for June 6th and payroll June 7th.
So, I'll make a motion that we approve the accounts payable manifest of June 6, 2016, and the payroll manifest of June 7th, 2016.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do-do-do-do. All the traveling I have coming up, though, doesn't conflict with any of our meetings, so I'm happy about that. Okay, minutes. We have two sets of minutes. We have May 16th and June 1.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended for May 16th, 2016, and June 1st, 2016.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion on that, or was everyone good with the changes?
I was good with it.
You're all good?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right. BOS reports from assigned boards and committees. Why don't we start with that? Planning board maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
So, planning board, we heard, I was gonna write this all down because I've been so bad. There was 3 cases continued. Those 3 cases were Flutter Road, Smoke Street, and Gary Anderson's subdivision. And then we heard, Saks, subdivision, and, are doing a couple of different things with that, because there was discussion in relation to, there's 2 driveway cuts they wanna do off of Saks.
Okay.
And so the, discussion revolved around curb cuts in our subdivision regs.
Okay.
So there were gonna be there was a recommendation made, so if you've got Saks subdivision, there's 75 acres that isn't being that isn't being developed.
Okay.
And then there's, 5 house lots.
That's the total number of house lots they're looking at now?
Yes,
5 acre.
Right. And so in the subdivision regs, you can't have 2 driveways off of the private road, you can only have 1.
Okay.
So there was a suggestion made by one of the members of the board that we kind of change the lot numbers so that it's not, and this is really, so that the lot, that first lot that needs that driveway cut is actually the kind of what would be considered the main lot.
Okay.
And, so that's being looked at. If that,
So all of the other driveways would come off of
they all
that?
come off of Mountain Road, and if this other
okay.
75 acres was ever to be subdivided, it would all have to come off of Mountain Road.
So what they were looking at was 3 coming off Mountain Road and 2 coming off Saks, was what they
One,
wanted?
one coming off Saks, and the other driveway cut was the 75 acres.
Oh, okay,
So, so that was the first motion that was made. So if this 75 acres ever were to be developed, they would have to all come off Mountain Road.
okay.
Then the second, in addition, to get attorney review of the understanding of the subdivision, because there was differences of opinion between Paul, Colby, and the planning board.
Okay.
And then the third option was, I'm trying to remember now, ABC. The third option is that they can go to the zoning board and ask for
Okay.
a waiver. And then their fourth option is they can put a curb cut off of Mountain Road, which, for that one lot, instead of coming off
Okay.
of Saks Road. So that onus kind of falls on them. The other, where I think Paul was gonna talk to, we need to just check with DRA if we can do kind of this lot
Okay,
renumbering.
yeah,
And then, just get some, attorney, opinion on
okay.
it. And then, what's it? I think we're gonna approve site plan, revision is underway. That hadn't been revised since 1998, so, everybody's gonna get I think everybody has given their final feedback to Paul, so we'll probably be voting on those in July,
Okay.
which is good, because it's been so long since they
Yeah.
were updated.
Okay. Have you met with them since we did our, review of the master plan?
So I shared with them that we reviewed the master plan, and kind of
Yep.
2 things that came out of that, 2 action items, is that we're gonna be meeting with the conservation, when the next time we meet with the Conservation Commission, there are some things in the natural resource chapter we'll be discussing with them, and that we'll, be holding a meeting with the, Historical Society
Yep.
to discuss a lot of what was in the
Yep.
heritage, that we, and those were kind of the 2 key outcomes of that.
Okay. Has budget committee met?
Not yet.
Do they have a meeting date set?
Coming
Cause they usually have one in the
July.
Yeah,
summer, right?
Yeah, to kind of mid,
July, something, middle of July.
Okay.
is that a full board, or do they have space?
I'm pretty sure it's full.
Full?
July 14th,
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay, so that'll just be a review of, financials and, what you might wanna do, Tyler, is, just kind of find some time to come in and sit with Chris
Yeah.
before that meeting, and you'll have numbers,
Well, Q2 numbers.
Q2 numbers, so you might wanna just review them with him before you go into that meeting.
Right,
Okay, town department reports.
okay. I think we are recording but not broadcasting. I don't have the broadcast software on here, so I
Okay.
could go fiddle with that for 15 minutes in the office, or we can just forge ahead. I just didn't turn it on in time. That's where it's that. You don't turn it on at the moment
okay.
that it,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, this is a busy paving week. If you've been out and about, you've seen chewed up roads. They were up on Deerfield and Poor Farm today. I think they're actually paving tomorrow, they're prepping today. The bulk of that'll be done this week. Let's see, I sent you a note about soccer. We've kind of figured things out with the strikers, and we're working with them on an announcement kind of thing, so just to get the word out, but looks like that's gonna work out okay. We're interviewing for a rec assistant, Courtney's old job that's been vacant essentially since Janet left. She's got 3 or 4 candidates she's looking at, and is kind of doing some phone interviews, and I'll be sitting in on some in-person stuff,
Okay.
probably early next week.
Now with rec department, it used to be Janet Courtney, and then they'd bring someone else in on a part-time basis to help in the busy time with camp and, registrations and that kind of stuff, right? But have we eliminated that third part-time person?
Pretty much.
Because of the registration system that we went to?
Yeah.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, so there won't, the assistant will have a lot of administrative responsibilities, but won't be stapled to the desk like the
right,
administrative person was in prior summers. That was a summer-only
Yep.
administrator. We do need to have some office coverage in the summer because there's a lot of phone traffic and
Sure.
all that, but we are essentially gonna run with 2 people instead of 3.
good, that's awesome. And when does camp start?
The 27th, 27th, Monday the 27th, yep. Staff training is next week, 22 and 23. They fire that up, and then it's full steam ahead.
And they have all the staff that they need?
Yep,
Lifeguards?
yep,
Wow, good.
yep. Lifeguards, swim instructors, ready to go. You have rate information there. That's an annual
Yep.
thing. You'll see that we moved the swim instruction to the rec revolving fund,
Oh, good, okay.
as we talked about in the budget season.
A lot of kids from town here, that's cool.
Yep, a lot of returning staff,
Yep,
so, and they were a good crew last year, so.
and some community service kids,
Yep,
nice.
there's Dawn calling to walk me through it, but I'll let that go. Thanks, Dawn. You're probably watching on the recording. Let's see, we have a new firefighter in the works. Toby O'Brien, has been working as a per diem for us for the last 6 weeks or so as a, you know, kind of get to know you, try it out
Yep.
thing, as we've done often with our full-time slots. He started with Amherst, I believe, and has been working for Epsom in a per diem role, and would be his first career position. He's finishing his physical and acrophobia test and all that kind of stuff, and there's a memo from Chief Philchuck in there that outlines his probationary periods and the things
Yeah.
he's got to do, but he's pretty much in the rotation now. He doesn't quite work a full-time schedule as a per diem, but has really made it possible to not have big gaps since Lieutenant Calderoni left, so.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we
It's
kind of,
fantastic that it's filled so quickly.
yeah. Yeah, and he's certified and, you know, or will be shortly.
Do you need anything from us on that?
No, if you're comfortable with moving forward with it, we don't need anything. You know, we've always, we have, for the last 2 or 3 guys, used this per diem into a career
Yep,
thing. It's a great way for both parties to
Yeah.
kind of try it out, so.
good.
And the chief, we'll send you something in writing, but the chief also asked me to invite you to the annual association cookout on July 30th.
Okay,
So you can pencil that in. We're working on what we don't think is a public health hazard, but it's a nuisance, and what it may be an abandoned property on Seaman's Point. We don't have anything for you yet, but we've had a house that some of the neighbors think is creating a rat problem and has a bunch of trash in the yard. And so before we act on it, we'll be back before you, but I just wanted to,
okay, it's abandoned,
yeah, as far as we can tell.
okay,
You know, the owner's not been responsive to the health inspector. Tax bill came back. It's looking abandoned. We'll move slowly on it, but you'll hear from us again before we do anything with it. But sadly, it is my obligation to remind you that it's summertime and we have to start thinking about CIP. If you want to finish it before the budget season starts, I don't know how you want to address that and when, but, it's
You're
time.
the CIP person, right? I think you signed up for that, actually.
I did?
I wasn't gonna say that.
Well, I think we had said that we'd like to get it done before the end of summer.
Yeah,
so-
but we wanna rejuvenate the committee,
Right.
right? So, yeah. So we should have, budget committee representation. Does planning board?
So we need to, nobody has stepped up yet. John
Okay.
Warren was the CIP.
John Warren,
John's gonna do it again?
at Beal, Nottingham, New Hampshire. John Warren at the, I think it was the second May meeting, did say he'd reconsidered and would offer to be appointed.
Okay.
And we appointed him immediately, so.
Oh, okay.
We didn't let him have a chance of second.
Yes.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, so planning, budget, school. Who else do we need?
It used to be building committee, but there's no building
there's no
committee
building committee.
anymore. And so that, and then select board,
Okay,
that was it.
And whoever else you want. There's no law about it.
okay, all right, well, we
As
can,
long as you get somebody from planning and you're good.
we can start with that then. Jean Reed did it last year, was that just as an interesting
He
party?
was, he was the budget committee
Budget
rep.
committee.
Oh, okay. All right,
So we can send Tyler into the budget committee meeting and say, you know, find a volunteer.
yeah, can you do that in July? Okay,
Yep.
all right. And then, what's the first step for that? Is that getting the sheets out and having people fill out their sheets?
Yeah, that's the work.
Yeah.
You know, and if we assume that the sheets that we've been using for years are sufficient, then I can start department heads on that now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, because then, if he's meeting with budget committee in July, you can start getting those sheets gathered, then we can plan a meeting, you know, the first meeting for like end of July.
Okay,
Okay, and I, can reach out to the school to find out who their rep is gonna be,
okay.
all right?
And lastly, thanks to Bill Garnett and Charlie Brown and maybe some others that I'm not aware of, but you may have noticed that the World War II monument in front of the fire station has been cleaned up. Got rid of an old bush and did some new plantings and put some mulch down, stuff, looks nice. I think Charlie was out there painting last week, I don't know if he's finished, but,
It looks like it was all done.
yeah,
Yeah,
looks great.
didn't even realize how big that was, cause it was all covered over.
Well, they picked how big it was by taking care of it, you know, all it was the monument itself in a sandy island, but they've dressed it up quite a bit,
Fantastic.
so it looks great.
Thank you to them.
And that is all I have for you.
Okay, do you need us to, what do you need with
You
with
have
regards to-
manifests and you have, 2
Did that.
annual merit, increases there, and you
So
have
this
the
is-
summer
this is-
ones.
That's an FYI, and then these are
Yep.
the, okay.
And I think that is it in there.
Chris, there's no signage sheet back, do you want me to just put a piece of paper out for you?
Yeah, could you? Thanks. Conservation Commission's way down the hall, and the little sign says Conference Room 2 on it.
Okay. This is, that's just an FYI. That, just right there, just for note, that looks funny.
Oh, the negative?
Yeah,
Okay.
it looks like it's a,
Yeah, no, we will be paying them.
yeah, you might wanna just fix that. Awesome. sell signs therefore. Okay, so that's all we have before we open the public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so,
So before we start the public hearing, I'm wondering if we could all stand for a moment of silence in respect of the victims and their families in the community of Orlando, Florida. So, thank you.
thank you, Charlene. Okay, at this point, we will open the public hearing on, an ordinance to prohibit through trucking on public ways where signs are erected. And I will open it up for public comment at this time on that ordinance.
Do we want to read it? Because I don't know that we have copies of notes, so maybe a quick read of it.
We can do that.
Okay.
You want speed read?
Sure.
Okay. Ordinance 16-001, adopted perhaps 2016, an ordinance to prohibit through trucking on public ways where signs are erected by virtue of the authority vested to the Board of Selectmen by New Hampshire RSA 41:11, 47:17, Roman 7, and Roman 8, and any other applicable statute under New Hampshire law. We, the members of the Select Board for the Town of Nottingham, enact the following regulation. Purpose: to provide safety of residents, vehicles, and pedestrians on town roads, to maintain useful life of roadways, and to direct commercial traffic to appropriate roadways. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Nottingham, through the Select Board, ordains that 1. No person shall operate a truck as defined in Section 2 on the following streets in a manner that allows the operator to travel from one end of the street to the opposite end as through traffic without stopping for either business or as a resident of that street. Lucas Pond Road, Halls Way, Francesca Way, Michaela Way, Kelsey Road, McCrillis Road, Garland Road, Lincoln Drive. 2. A truck is defined as in RSA 259:115-B, quote, every motor vehicle designed, used, or maintained primarily for the transportation of property, unquote, close quote. Light trucks are exempt as defined by RSA 259:50, quote, any motor truck having no more than 2 axles, close quote. Exemptions. The following are exempt from the prohibition of through trucking: municipal vehicles or contractors working for the town, emergency vehicles, school and public transportation vehicles, public utility vehicles in performance of official duties, vehicles making local deliveries within excluded portions of roads, vehicles of private contractors engaged to perform work on behalf of the town, public utilities, or owners of property abutting or otherwise having access from the excluded portions of said roads or any other road accessible only via the excluded section of the road. Vehicles owned by a property owner performing work on their own behalf on property that abuts or otherwise is accessed from the excluded roadway. Penalty: failure to adhere to this ordinance shall be a violation of the subject to a fine of $100 for the first offense and $250 for each subsequent offense in a calendar year. Adopted by the Select Board of the Town of Nottingham, etc., etc.
Thank you, Chris. All right, we'll now open it up to public comment. And I'll just invite you to come up to the table in front of the microphone, state your name, and then go ahead and make your comment.
Well, my name is Jim Farnell, owns Farnell Lumber. And would you go over the list of roads again, a little bit slower, please?
As drafted right now, Lucas Pond Road, Halls Way, Francesca Way, Michaela Way, Kelsey Road, McCrillis Road, Garland Road, Lincoln Drive.
So Dump Road is still open, would be still open?
The dump road,
Yes.
Freeman Hall Road, the road to the dump, or the actual dump road itself? Both,
Freeman Hall Road.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
That's included?
That is not included at this point, right.
Okay. And the size of the truck again, please?
It's any vehicle, any motor vehicle designed, used, or maintained primarily for the transportation of property, but it has to have more than 2 axles.
More than 2 axles?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up.
Good evening, my name is Jim Hadley. I don't actually live in Nottingham, I live in Northwood, Old Mountain Road, the last 28 years, and as you may know, the town of Northwood voted April 12th to post no-through trucking on 0.7 of a mile in the Northwood section. Unfortunately, they didn't develop an ordinance, so it has no standing, so they're meeting tomorrow night, and hopefully they'll develop a ordinance and have a public hearing, et cetera. But I've driven that road twice a day, 28 years, and to me, to see the kids walking in the street on Lucas Pond Road, that's the only road I'm talking about. It's very dangerous, and I went around to the neighborhood and had 10 families sign a petition. I submitted it to Chris April 27th. It will still allow trucking to go through, et cetera, and I was here a couple selectmen's meetings ago, and it was mentioned that it would be hard to enforce, and I would just mention that when I was first elected as selectman 15 years ago, I went to the Selectmen's Institute, and one of the things they covered was community policing. And there's several communities in New Hampshire where, and I can just read a quote, it's pretty interesting. This happens to be the Hudson Police Department. In order to best serve our community, we employ many models of policing. In 1829, Sir Robert Peel, known as the father of modern policing, said in his 9 principles of policing, "The people are the police and the police are the people." He was talking about community policing. And what I found is, like, as a selectman, that in this particular case, people can write down a plate number and just describe the truck and make a phone call into either the town hall or whatever the selectmen or police department decide to do, so that they wouldn't have to feel as though they're gonna be, you know, intimidated or whatever. But I think the community policing part would be an important component, so it would be a lot easier to enforce. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ed Veal, Garland Road. I spoke a month or so back to this board when with Chief Foss was here as well, and so I'm just going to reiterate some of those points for people that might not have been here or might not have heard them. I think the ordinance as written is a good compromise, and is very clearly written, and this is a good step towards, you know, it's a good balance. Again, you know, bringing back to the point of whether or not large commercial vehicles that have no business on certain roads in town are appropriate for those roads or not. You know, I think this addresses that, specific to certain roads that aren't connector roads, they're not arterial roads, they don't feed, you know, from one state highway to the next. They're so, you know, I support this, and you know, I just want to bring back that again, unless there's business on the road that they're performing, you know, that these commercial vehicles, especially these roads that are listed, really should avoid them at all costs. So, thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else?
Mike Rousseau, Garland Road. I just want to thank the select board and of course Mr. Sterndale and Chief Foss for your attention to this matter. Appreciate the thoughtful way you've gone about it and implemented it, so thank you.
Okay,
You don't get much money for your job. That's what get thanked.
it's for the pleasure.
Right.
We just like to hang out with each other.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, anyone else? So if there are no further comments, we will close the public hearing portion and just thank those of you who have showed up and commented. So with that closed, Do you guys wanna move forward and discuss it further now?
Yeah, if we're gonna take a vote on it, what I'd like to propose, is that, we discuss it and vote on the language in the ordinance minus the roads, and then I would like to recuse myself so that you
I see.
can vote on the roads, so
Okay.
that there's no,
Yep.
consideration of conflict of interest. Although I will state that I did talk to the municipal association when I was at the training.
Yep.
And brought this up, and they said that if I were to recuse myself, it would be a very, very conservative move, but
Okay.
this is what I feel would be best for the town.
Well, if Tyler and I tied, you could. All right, so, why don't we take a motion to discuss the language of the ordinance?
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we discuss, ordinance, 16-001 for the language of the ordinance.
Second that.
Okay, discussion, thoughts and comments? I mean, we went through it, I thought, pretty carefully before. I think, I don't have any questions or concerns about the language at this point. I think Chris did a very good job of capturing everything that we discussed before. I think, as noted, I think it's pretty clear and well written.
Yeah, and I think, we did receive, Chief Foss's input
Yep,
on it.
yep,
I think this is, when people even hear that we have an ordinance, some people with big trucks are gonna stay off the roads. I think there's still gonna be people that do it, but
yep,
I think this is gonna be a good thing.
okay. With no further discussion, then I'll take a vote on, accepting and adopting the language of the ordinance minus the specific roads that are addressed. So, all in favor?
Right.
Okay. I will make a motion that we, accept the roads, that have been recommended to us by the chief as the roads to be covered under this ordinance.
And Chair, I will recuse myself from this discussion.
So I'll look for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. So the only thing I'll say about this is that, this topic came before this board last year or the year before, was a different makeup of, selectmen at the time. Garland Road in particular came forward, and we chose at that time not to do anything about it. There was some concern about too many regulations and restrictions. I, am in favor of this and the roads that are listed here because of the input and the feedback that we've gotten from the chief. Last year, we were looking for data. We got some data on Garland Road that suggested that it wasn't a big enough issue to want to address it. This year, in going through the process, I think that the input of the chief went a long way with me, and the fact that, the chief actually did a thoughtful review and recommending the roads that he thought should be covered. So I support 100% the roads that have been recommended here.
You as well.
Okay. With no further discussion, then I'll take a vote on, adopting this ordinance with the, following roads listed, included Lucas Pond Road, Halls Way, Francesca Way, Michaela Way, Kelsey Road, McCrillis Road, Garland Road, and Lincoln Drive. All in favor? So Chris, next steps?
Next steps, order signs, post signs, educate police officers, that's pretty much it.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent. So just keep us posted on the progress
do.
on that.
And we'll need to sign that.
Yeah, I gotta, take the draft off it and
Yeah.
put the dates in it and stuff, so I'll have you, sign that.
Okay, you want to sign at the next meeting, or do you
Yep.
want us to come by?
Yeah, no, it's not necessary. The vote is what matters.
Okay. All right. No appointments for 7:15, no appointments for 7:30. Thank you to everybody who came.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. Would it also be a good idea maybe to, put something up on the website? People might know as well.
It's there.
Just to say that it's.
Oh, to say that it's done? Yes, once it's posted, it's not legal until it's posted. Once it's posted, we will bring more attention to it, but it doesn't mean anything until the signs are up, so.
Thank you again.
Okay. All right, oh, sure.
Can I interject, since you don't have a 7:15 or 7:30, it's like a 30-second plug?
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate that. Mike Rousseau, Chair of the Zoning Board, former committee member from the town and Chair of the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. Currently, the town has no representation on that board. I think usually they like to have 2 and up to 4 representatives from a town. So any way you guys, through the town offices can, just work that up. I had Sue Mooney put it in the planning board
Okay,
and Conservation Commission discussion, but, in the town newsletter, but we definitely missing out on some possible opportunities. Matter of fact, right after this, I'm going down to talk to Conservation Commission.
okay,
They're just looking, the Lamprey River Advisory Committee's looking for a quick letter of support from the town of Nottingham, so that they can leverage some money from National Park Service to create recreational maps. So any of the federal monies. So it's just opportunities. There's a lot of good stuff. I know some of the things might tie in with the Martson property, having a canoe launch, along the Lamprey River.
so are you asking for 2 different things, the first being a letter of
Well,
support?
that's coming from the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
If you guys wanted to write one as well, that'd be fine, but I think from one
Okay.
board in town is
Okay,
sufficient.
fantastic. So then we just need to try to do some,
Drum up some volunteers if you know anybody, and anybody out in TV land right now.
yeah,
We definitely need somebody. I think they meet once a month. I don't think they probably only meet 10 times a year perhaps. It's a great group, and it's part of it was the first watershed in the state to be entirely adopted into the Rivers Protection
Okay.
Program. And so basically it's just representation from Nottingham.
Mike, have you, we can certainly post that on the website, right? Have you considered posting, giving a notice to like, Karen Davidson for her email blast, and also,
that.
we could post.
New person
New person, right?
as well.
And we could post it on, the Nottingham Facebook.
Yeah, and if people want to contact me, if they are concerned or want to know more about what it
Yep.
entails or what it's all about, if they want information, I guess I would be a good go-to person for that.
So do you wanna post it on the Nottingham pages on Facebook?
that.
Okay,
I can do that.
great. Okay,
Excellent.
great.
That's it. Thank you. Took more than 30 seconds, sorry.
We'll let it go.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
You,
Good night.
Okay, so Chris, the only other thing here, you had, solar RFQ.
Yeah, I just want to give you an opportunity to say anything about it. Make sure you're okay with this process of looking for a vendor first and a dollar amount second, really. This is something we dabbled in last year, was putting panels on the roof here, and we really can't move on it until we get out of our current purchase agreement for electricity. We might be able to, but it might be a little expensive, so. Eyeing an installation for next spring, once that agreement lapses, and also anticipating that we may need to go to town meeting for a multi-year agreement. I don't know what the financial arrangements will look like. It's probably a no upfront cost arrangement for us. We just agree to buy power for several years from whoever installs it. That's the best way to take advantage of the tax credit, so. Anyway, in anticipation of those things, starting well in advance so that we can have a good plan together and have time to talk about it before it gets crazy for town meeting. Using an RFQ process rather than an RFP where you say, give me this system exactly and tell me how much it will cost. Where we're probably not gonna be buying equipment as much as leasing it, and it's really technical. Different vendors use different hardware, and I'm not certainly qualified to judge one of those things or the other. What a lot of towns have done in this situation specifically is to use this RFQ, find a good partner that we want to work with from start to finish on it. We will get to a point where they give us a proposal that includes dollars and cents, and we can say yes or no at that point to that. But rather than try to compare completely different systems, different finance packages
Yeah.
all at once, this just seems like the better way to go, and we've seen other towns be successful with this approach as well.
How do you, once you get to that point where you get a proposal and they give you a number, how do you compare and assess whether that's a good number or not?
Well, it's either you want to do it or you don't. You no longer will have, you may have different terms that you can pick from, but you'd be dealing with the one vendor. So you could be looking at different, what happens at the end of the lease, what different arrangements can you have, how do you work out the financing?
Okay.
So those will be choices that we'll make later. And in some cases, we don't have to make them until 5 or 10 years from now, but,
Okay.
so it really becomes more a yes or no question than a B, or C question.
Okay.
When you get to the point of having good numbers. And at this point, any proposal that we got that included dollars and cents would be so full of variables and qualifications of like, yeah, well, this is what we do today, but we can't promise you this amount because electricity prices and panel prices are gonna be completely different 10 months from now. That's really what makes it hard to compare apples to apples, so.
So Chris, are you asking them to, at least the way I read it or interpreted it, it was, not only to have them look at this building, but also have them look at the other buildings in town?
No, we've not, we'd certainly listen if they, and if somebody wanted to look at it, we could make an up or down decision on those as well. We have, in talking with a few people last year, this building is far and away the best option that we have in terms of facilities, just by size and orientation. It's perfect, near perfect. It was built with that in mind years and years ago. The school maybe is another good site, and I will loop the school back in. They were involved in our first round of discussions. They may want to join in on it too.
Yeah, I think so, because I think I contacted one of the school board members and they have talked about,
Yeah.
so it probably would be good to,
Yeah, and they will be in, if they want to do something, they'd be in parallel with us. There's really no way we could do anything together, but if they want to latch onto our process, we can certainly make
Knowledge
that
sharing and
happen.
learning.
Yep. And then, after that, we can look at other sites. I think, the library maybe, but it's pretty small, so there may not be great opportunities there. And then I think we're gonna, if this goes well, we're gonna find ourselves looking at ground-based installations in, places like the landfill.
well, one of my.
But that's a couple of years down the road.
Yeah, well, one of my other thoughts were too, is, we've got a couple of parcels of land that the town owns that we could put kind of a solar, what they call solar park or solar farm, right? Which would then just feed back to the grid, so
Yeah.
it's kind of, it helps offset,
Yeah,
the electricity costs, and I didn't know if, we wanted to have them also, kind of look at that. We've got 12 acres over on Smoke Street, right? And something like that on the last ones that we looked at, I
Yeah.
think there was,
It's heavily wooded.
it's heavily, yeah,
Yeah.
I think most of them are heavily wooded, so there would have to be clearing,
Yeah.
but still, there's revenue generated off of that as well, but I'm just wondering, if we're gonna have someone look at it, let's have them look at the options.
Yeah, we can open it up, and I would think we'd wanna use the same vendor in that process. You know, I don't think we wanna, if we're gonna do it all at once, we wanna use the same vendor.
Yeah.
If we do it in stages, then we can shop vendors each time. But as part of this, once we get to the vendor that we wanna work with, we can absolutely say, what else can you do on these other sites? Yeah.
Because won't we have to do something structurally to this building?
No, as far as we know so far, it's ready.
Yeah, so that was my question too. I mean, given that it's an old building and
Yeah.
with it,
The initial look, we had them look last year, and
Yeah.
the initial look was that we can do it without too much structural work. We'll have to dig way down into that
yeah,
as part of this
Yeah.
process, but
Yeah.
the initial look is good.
okay,
And it may be, you know, if we say, okay, well, you know, we've got the school, we've got this, we have a, you know, potential of a solar park, that may jazz somebody else, and that may jazz them up to give us a better
Really
deal.
good deal.
yeah.
Really
yeah,
good deal.
Yeah. Cause there.
Yeah, I'll broaden the language in this and say, you know, include other sites. If it may get us, it may get us interest from bigger vendors.
Okay.
You know, that's,
Yeah,
I didn't wanna go from 0 to
400.
500.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you wanna look at it, I'm happy to broaden
So
it.
I guess part of the question is, are there realistic properties that we could use? I mean, I know that we went through that evaluation of all the properties, we were looking at which ones we could sell and which ones,
I haven't looked at the list with that lens on it really beyond,
okay,
I mean, knowing that the landfill is sitting there empty and will always be clear and almost points the right way.
yeah,
That was the first one that came to mind, but I can go back and look at our other real estate and see if there's anything else that
okay,
would make sense.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And there's no room in the pit at this point. There's still too much work going on in all areas of the pit. That's the next logical, you know, when that gets played out, then that, we'll be talking about that too.
so what do you need from us on this, just a acknowledgement, that?
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable with this rolling forward, we'll come back to you. If you want to be involved in the vendor selection, I can certainly loop you into that process. We had a number of folks from town that were interested in this. I'm gonna invite them to,
Good.
you know, take part in this. Yeah, we'll interview some people, and if we get to the point where we find somebody we wanna work with, we'll come back to you and,
Okay. I certainly don't want to be involved in interviews, but I would like to be kept abreast of, you know, the vendors that you're talking to and the criteria that you're using and what you're finding in comparison of them.
I'd be interested, but if I can't make a meeting, then certainly don't hold it up, but I'd
Okay.
be interested in participating in.
okay.
Okay, excellent. Anything else on that then, Chris?
No.
All right, any other business? That covers everything that was on the agenda. Okay, we do at this point want to go into non-public. Which one are we looking at, Chris?
91A3 2D.
D, okay. At this point, we're gonna go into non-public, per RSA 91-A:3 2D. And I need to do a roll call for that,
Yes.
right? So, Donna Danus, aye.
Charlene Anderson,
Tyler Eaton,
Okay, so we're gonna go into non-public now, and we'll just adjourn out of non-public, right? We won't.
You will come out of non-public without having made any decisions and then adjourn.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.